Okay, so this is the plan. I'm currently working on the Laravel Microservice course. I thought what I'd do is over the next few weeks whilst I'm working on the course, each week what I'll do is I'll just post a summary on YouTube of where I'm up to. I'll share some code with you, some tips, some techniques, just let you know how the project is going. And so for this first one, best way to start is just to show you what we're going to build, what microservices are, and how what we're going to build is going to fit in to a wider system. So hopefully you'll enjoy this first one. It'll make you want to come back and watch the rest of the summaries as I post them each week. Let's now consider microservices, microservice architecture, and what we're actually going to build throughout this course. So the name microservice, as it suggests, it's a small part of a much larger system, and it has a particular responsibility in making that system work as a whole. We'll come back more to the benefits of microservices shortly, but first let's discuss what we're actually going to create in this course and why it is a microservice and how it fits in to a much wider, larger system. So this is going to be the system that we'll be considering in this course. In real life, you can have systems which are way more complex than this, but as this is educational, we need to keep it simple in order for it to be understandable. And so here in the middle is our microservice, and what it does, it sort of sits in between two third-party systems. The first one being Apple or Google apps. So if you think of the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store, you download an app onto your phone, and then a lot of apps that will have like premium features where you can sort of subscribe, say for example a fitness app where it will generate tailored workout plans for you, and you pay money and you subscribe to that app. It's that kind of thing. And so when you subscribe to an app, a Google or Apple app, what they do is they publish webhooks, and so these are notifications which are simply published, and then any subscribers to those notifications receive the webhook, and then they can do whatever they wish to do with that information, with that data. And so we would register the URL of our microservice with Google or with Apple, and then when we receive that notification, then what we're going to do is we're going to receive that data. Okay, so let's talk about the other third-party service. And what we're going to do here is, even though in real life this will be a third-party service which is built by someone else, we're actually going to build a small little mock ourselves. And the reason for doing that is just so it can give you an understanding of how all this stuff works as a whole, rather than working on simply the microservice. So what we'll do is we'll build a simple CRUD app, and this is going to be a mock of just some kind of marketing platform. So if you think of anything which consolidates user data, so think of things like Twilio Segment, even things like MailChimp, Adestra, email marketing tools, things like that. You feed them information, and those tools can use that information in order to sort of tailor communications with the audience. And so we'll receive a notification from Google or Apple to say that someone has made an in-app subscription. We will take that data, we will format it and process it and send it to the marketing platform in the format and containing the data that it expects. And believe it or not, in order to do that, there are quite a lot of programmatical considerations to make in order to be able to check that our system is up and running and that it is working as expected. And so let me give you a demo here of how this will all work. And so the way I'll do this is, first of all, this is the little mock-up I've made of the marketing platform. I've used the name Audience Grid because I did a search and that name seemed to be available. Obviously, this is just running locally. So Audience Grid, it's supposed to be a mock of something like Twilio Segment or something like Adestra or MailChimp or something like that. And what it does is it contains a load of contacts and a load of information regarding those contacts. So for example, you can click on and then you can go in there and you can update user information. And so what needs to happen is Google or Apple, the app, needs to publish the webhook, it will go through the microservice. The microservice will take that information and then forward it to an API endpoint for this mock of our little marketing platform that we've got here. So let's go and run that now. So I'm just going to use Postman for the time being. What I will say is don't worry about having Postman installed. This is just for demonstration purposes only. I think in the course what we'll do is we'll just use curl, because you don't need to download anything onto your computer or anything like that, or subscribe to anything in order to use curl, and I'll just provide you with a payload that you can do with that. But for demo purposes, I think it will be easy for you to understand if I use Postman. And so here I'm just going to pretend that I am Google or Apple. I'm going to publish a webhook. And so what would happen there is you publish the webhook, and it will get posted to all of the subscribers, our microservice being one of those subscribers, and then the subscribers will do what they need to do with the information. So here is all the data, and it is fairly realistic to what a Google webhook would look like. It's a bit less involved and a bit less complicated, but some of these top level keys here and all these things are actually very similar to what you would see in a Google webhook. Okay, and so this particular one is for a contact called Gary@example.com. And so when I send this, what it's going to do, it's going to go to the microservice. The microservice is going to look up to see what kind of event it's dealing with. That way it'll be able to know how to format the data and how to forward it to our marketing platform, Audience Grid. Okay, so I'll fire this off. That has been sent. Believe it or not, that has gone through our microservice and been forwarded on to Audience Grid. If I hit refresh here, you'll see that a new contact has been entered into the system, and we can go in and we can actually change some of the properties which have been received. So as you can see, less data than what was originally sent out by Google, because Google sends out massive data, but in reality you're probably only interested in a handful of those properties. Okay, so with all of that in mind, there's actually quite a lot to be getting stuck into, isn't there? We've got to create the microservice, create the routing, the endpoint, the database for the lookups. We need to figure out how we can test that the correct data is being received. And more crucially, how do we test that the correct data is being forwarded to the marketing platform? Also, because just to give you the full picture of what we're going to do here or how this works, we're also going to build out this marketing platform. It's going to be very simple. It's really going to be a CRUD app where you can go in and create records and update, delete records, things like that. But importantly, it's going to have an API endpoint where it can receive the data from our microservice. So hopefully all of that makes sense and you've got a good idea of what we're going to build. It's going to be quite a lot of work, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'll set you a few little challenges along the way. Let's now consider some of the benefits of microservices and why we would use microservices for something like this. By breaking down an application into smaller self-contained services, microservices promote modularity, separation of concerns. Each service has its own focus and a specific function, such as handling webhooks or processing subscription data. And this makes the code base easier to understand, makes it easier to maintain, makes it easier to test. It also facilitates independent deployments, so allows you to update or scale individual services without risking downtime for the entire system. Another very important consideration is scale. Microservices provide the flexibility to scale components based on demand. For instance, if a subscription event surge during a promotional period, the webhook handler can be scaled independently to handle the increased traffic. And this targeted scaling optimizes resource usage and reduces costs compared to scaling an entire monolithic application, which is very, very hard. Fault isolation is another advantage of microservices. If an error occurs in our service, for example, there's a problem with validating the logic, it doesn't mean it's going to take down the entire system. It just means on this occasion that one webhook will not be forwarded, and we can put systems in place where our webhooks will be retried. For example, you could use queues which try and resend any failed webhooks a certain number of times. But eventually and ultimately, what it means is if something goes wrong, if our microservice fails, it doesn't mean the entire system fails. Another benefit is the independent nature of microservices, which supports faster development and deployment cycles. So if you've ever worked on large monoliths or big legacy systems, getting changes in there and getting them deployed can be very hard, especially if you have all different teams working on different parts of it. With microservices, teams can focus on building and improving specific services, testing them in isolation, and deploying updates without having to wait for other changes to other parts of the system. This agility is especially beneficial for services which interact with external platforms like Google Play, as it allows quick adaptation to API changes or new requirements. And finally, possibly the main reason for the microservice which we are going to create to exist is it enables easier integration with external services. In the case of this course, the microservice processes webhook data and then forwards it seamlessly to an analytics platform. By decoupling the subscription handling logic from the integration logic, you can modify or replace one component without actually affecting the other. So for example, if you are no longer going to use Audience Grid, you are going to change for a different platform, it wouldn't actually require that much work in order to be able to adapt and scale for change. Okay, that's been quite a lot of information, but I hope now you have a good understanding of what we're going to build and why what we're going to build would exist out there in the real world. I'm sure by now you're dying to get your hands on the keyboard and start building, and so that's what we're going to do in the next one, where we'll install a Laravel app and get it set up and ready to start development work. Let's go.